were a serious item for a while, yeah.
But I remember Kieran Hines and myself, we did this film Excalibur together.
Yeah.
How can someone celebrate nearly 3 decades of marriage and still admit they'll always love another man? That's exactly what Helen Mirren did, leaving fans stunned. At 81, the Oscar-winning actress spoke with remarkable honesty about Liam Neeson, revealing that a part of her heart never stopped caring for him. It wasn't a scandal or a hidden affair. It was something much more human. But to understand why those words carried so much weight, we have to go back to where Helen's incredible journey first began. And her childhood was anything but ordinary. Long before Hollywood knew her name, Helen Mirren entered the world as Ilyana Lydia Mironov in London in 1945. Her father came from a Russian aristocratic family, forced to leave everything behind, while her mother was proudly English, with deep working-class roots. During World War II, fear and suspicion toward foreign names pushed the family to change their surname to Mirren, hoping for a simpler life. That decision quietly shaped Helen's identity, leaving her caught between 2 cultures and 2 histories. But even as a child, she refused to let anyone define who she should become. Helen wasn't interested in living the life others expected of her. While many dreamed of ordinary careers, she was drawn to the stage, where she could become anyone and say things others were afraid to. Joining the National Youth Theatre at just 18 changed everything. Her confidence, fearless attitude, and willingness to challenge convention quickly caught attention. Before long, she earned a place with the prestigious Royal Shakespeare Company, proving she wasn't simply talented, she was unforgettable. Yet her boldest adventure was waiting far away from any theater. In her early 20s, Helen did something few rising actresses would ever risk. Instead of chasing fame, she packed a bag and traveled to Israel shortly after the Six-Day War with her boyfriend. The pair hitchhiked across the country before volunteering on a kibbutz, picking grapes and working in kitchens alongside complete strangers. It wasn't glamorous, but Helen later described it as one of the most meaningful experiences of her life. Decades later, those memories would unexpectedly shape one of her biggest film roles. But an even greater turning point was still ahead. Returning to Britain, Helen threw herself into acting, with even greater determination. Critics admired her willingness to take difficult roles, while audiences noticed an actress who never seemed afraid of controversy or challenge. Whether performing Shakespeare or starring in daring stage productions, she built a reputation for speaking her mind both on and off screen. Directors quickly realized she wasn't interested in playing safe characters. She wanted roles that pushed boundaries. That fearless spirit would soon lead her onto the set of a fantasy film where destiny introduced her to a young actor named Liam Neeson. By the late 1970s, Helen Mirren had become one of Britain's most respected actresses. She wasn't chasing fame or playing predictable roles. Instead, she chose characters that challenged audiences and proved her incredible range. Every performance added another layer to her growing reputation as someone completely unafraid to take risks. Before we continue to the romance that changed her life forever, take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next untold Hollywood story. Because what happened next changed everything. In 1980, Helen accepted the role of Morgana Le Fay in Excalibur, never imagining the film would introduce her to one of the greatest loves of her life. On the same set was a young, little-known actor from Northern Ireland named Liam Neeson. Years later, Liam admitted that the moment he saw Helen walking across the set in full costume, he was completely captivated. She carried herself with confidence that was impossible to ignore. But his first impression wasn't the only unforgettable memory from those early days. Liam later shared a funny story that surprised even Helen herself. Before they officially became a couple, he had heard that Helen playfully copied the walk of any man she secretly liked. One day he turned around and caught her doing exactly that. Decades later, during a television reunion, Liam told the story while Helen sat beside him laughing in disbelief. She admitted she had completely forgotten about it and never realized he had noticed. That light-hearted moment revealed just how genuine their connection had been from the very beginning. Their relationship quickly became far more serious than most people realized. Helen and Liam didn't simply date. They built a life together, sharing homes in London and Los Angeles for several years. At the time, Helen was already an established star, while Liam was still searching for his breakthrough. She quietly helped him find professional opportunities, introducing him to people who could move his career forward. Their relationship wasn't built on publicity or red carpets. It was based on trust, support, and genuine affection. But success would soon test that bond. As Liam's ambitions grew, so did his desire to establish himself on his own. Reports over the years suggested he wanted to step out of Helen's shadow and prove he could succeed without being known as her famous partner. Rather than ending in dramatic arguments or public accusations, their relationship slowly came to a close with mutual respect. There was heartbreak, but very little bitterness. Neither spoke badly about the other, and both continued to admire one another long after they separated. Yet decades later, Helen would say something that left millions speechless. Years after they had gone their separate ways, Helen made a confession that instantly made headlines. Speaking in interviews, she didn't hesitate when Liam Neeson's name came up. She openly said they had loved each other deeply and that she would always love him until the day she died. Those words sparked endless speculation online, with some wondering if she still wished things had turned out differently. But Helen made it clear this wasn't about regret. It was about honoring a chapter of her life that helped shape the woman she became. And Liam's response was just as touching. Liam has always spoken about Helen with warmth and admiration. Looking back on their years together, he described himself as incredibly lucky to have shared that part of his life with her. He often recalled filming Excalibur as one of his happiest memories, saying that falling in love while riding horses in medieval armor felt almost unreal. Even after building one of Hollywood's biggest careers, he never dismissed their relationship as just another romance. Instead, he remembered it with gratitude and respect. But while that chapter closed, another important one was quietly beginning. Around the time her relationship with Liam was ending, Helen met American director Taylor Hackford during auditions for White Nights. Unlike the whirlwind romance she had experienced before, this connection grew slowly. There were no dramatic headlines or rushed commitments. They spent years getting to know each other, building trust before ever thinking about marriage. Friends noticed that their relationship felt steady rather than intense, and that patience would become one of its greatest strengths. Still, Helen had no intention of following Hollywood's usual timeline. Helen and Taylor stayed together for over 10 years before finally marrying on New Year's Eve in 1997. By then, Helen was already 52 years old, proving that lasting commitment doesn't have to follow society's expectations. She later explained that she had never felt pressured to marry simply because others expected it. Her earlier relationships had taught her valuable lessons about love, independence, and knowing exactly what she wanted in a partner. That confidence became the foundation of a marriage that has lasted through decades of Hollywood change. But one small tradition revealed even more about Helen's heart. One of the sweetest details Helen ever shared had nothing to do with awards or glamorous premieres. She revealed that she often made custom shirts by hand for the men she loved. It was a quiet tradition that continued through different relationships, including Liam Neeson and later Taylor Hackford. For Helen, love wasn't measured by expensive gifts or public displays. It was found in thoughtful, personal gestures that carried real meaning. That same quiet dedication would soon be reflected in a career that reached heights few actors could ever imagine. While her personal life found stability, Helen's career reached an entirely new level. Her portrayal of Detective Jane Tennyson in Prime Suspect redefined what audiences expected from female lead characters. Instead of playing someone flawless, Helen brought strength, vulnerability, and determination to the screen. Critics praised her performance, and viewers connected with a character who felt real. The series earned widespread acclaim and cemented Helen as one of Britain's finest actresses. But an even greater challenge was waiting, one that would earn her the highest honor in Hollywood. When Helen was cast as Queen Elizabeth II in The Queen, she knew the responsibility was enormous. Before filming, she reportedly wrote a respectful letter to the real monarch, explaining that the movie would explore one of the most difficult periods of the royal family's history. Helen studied hours of footage, carefully observed the Queen's expressions, posture, and voice, and focused on capturing her quiet strength rather than creating an imitation. Her dedication paid off in spectacular fashion. But the reaction after the film premiered surprised almost everyone. Helen's performance received overwhelming praise from critics around the world and earned her the Academy Award for Best Actress. Soon after, an extraordinary honor followed. She was invited to a private dinner at Buckingham Palace, a rare gesture that many saw as a sign of appreciation for her respectful portrayal of Queen Elizabeth II. Unfortunately, filming commitments overseas made it impossible for her to attend. Helen later expressed genuine disappointment, saying she deeply appreciated the invitation even though she couldn't accept it. Yet that wasn't the end of her remarkable connection to royalty. Helen's royal performances didn't stop with one Oscar-winning role. Over the years, she portrayed Queen Elizabeth I, Queen Elizabeth II, Catherine the Great, and Queen Charlotte, building a collection of historical characters unlike any other actress. Each performance showcased a different side of leadership, power, and vulnerability. Audiences admired how she made every queen feel completely unique instead of repeating the same performance. It became one of the most extraordinary achievements of her career. But perhaps the greatest irony was still waiting to be revealed. For someone who grew up in a household that questioned the monarchy, Helen's career took an unexpected turn. The woman raised with anti-monarchist views became the actress most closely associated with Britain's royal family on screen. She has often laughed about the irony, admitting her parents would probably have found it unbelievable. Rather than resisting the contradiction, Helen embraced it, proving that life rarely follows the path we expect. And just when it seemed her story couldn't become any more fascinating, an astonishing discovery connected her past to one of history's most influential women. More than 5 decades after her unforgettable trip to Israel, Helen returned to portray former Prime Minister Golda Meir in the 2023 film Golda. While promoting the movie, an astonishing discovery came to light. Genealogists found that Helen and Golda Meir were distantly related, something neither Helen nor the filmmakers had known before production began. For Helen, it felt like history had come full circle. A journey that began as a carefree adventure in her 20s had unexpectedly connected to one of the most meaningful roles of her career. But that wasn't the headline everyone was talking about. When Helen's comments about Liam Neeson resurfaced, social media quickly turned them into dramatic headlines. Some claimed her marriage was in trouble, while others suggested she had never truly moved on. But there has never been credible evidence to support those rumors. Helen and Taylor Hackford have continued to appear together, speaking warmly about one another and showing the same quiet partnership they've shared for decades. The real story was never about scandal. It was about honesty. And Helen soon explained exactly what she meant. Helen later made it clear that loving someone from your past doesn't mean you love your present any less. She explained that certain people leave a permanent mark on your life, helping shape who you become. Her feelings for Liam were never presented as unfinished romance or a desire to rewrite history. Instead, They reflected gratitude for a relationship that influenced her during some of her most important years. It was a rare moment of emotional honesty from a Hollywood icon. And that honesty is exactly why so many people connected with her words. It's easy to measure Helen Mirren's success by Oscars, Emmy Awards, and unforgettable performances. But her greatest legacy may be something much simpler. Throughout her life, she has refused to pretend that people or experiences should be erased just because time has passed. She has shown that maturity means accepting every chapter of your story instead of hiding it. Whether it was her adventurous youth, her relationship with Liam, or her lasting marriage to Taylor, each experience became part of the woman the world admires today. That leads to one final lesson worth remembering. At 81, Helen Mirren continues to prove that life isn't about choosing between the past and the present. It's about appreciating both. She built an extraordinary career, found lasting happiness with Taylor Hackford, and never denied the deep affection she once shared with Liam Neeson. Rather than creating controversy, her honesty offered a powerful reminder that love can leave lasting memories without taking away from the life you've built. Perhaps that's why Helen's story continues to inspire millions. It reminds us that the people who shape our lives are never truly forgotten, and that embracing every chapter of our journey may be the greatest act of courage of all.